All right, I believe we are live and ready to go. Welcome on in for episode 151 of the wide world of electronic sports. I'm joined as usual by the one and only Rodney Conyers Jr. How are you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. How are you, bro?
Oh, you know, can't complain. Just stopping my dog from destroying things, as usual. But yeah, it's been quite the week in the esports world.
Yes, it absolutely has. To be honest, I mean, there's so much news, it's kind of hard sometimes to figure out a good jumping off point. But I felt like maybe for today, it'd be okay to maybe start from like the industry end of things. I know we usually jump in with like tournament talk, but this was something that our very own Blake Morse kind of brought to our attention. And I'll be honest, So Juke GG is kind of an esports one-stop shop. It has information on bracket runs, has information on the calendar, you know, to kind of keep up to date with like all the tournaments going around across the planet. And not just fighting games. I know people probably know Denny and I strictly from the fighting game community, but this app covers all games, which is super dope. Viewership, you name it. And what's funny is the gentleman that actually is in charge of this app is one of the founders of Twitch. So he kind of branched off and decided to do his own thing. Unfortunately enough, though, it looks like the company is kind of going under, which is really weird for me because I think of an app like this, I think of just how needed, how much like it's actually needed in the esports space. I've used the app a handful of times. We actually originally pitched it around, I want to say Genesis 5 and 6. I remember kind of doing like a spiel or almost like a, you know, like an ad read for it. And I was like, damn, man, if we could implement this into the community the right way, this would be awesome. But basically, here's what the tweet says. It says, hey, everyone, here today with the note that I never thought I'd have to write. The current economic environment has been tough on Juke. We're running low on funding, and if we can't find an acquirer, we will begin ceasing operations October 7th. And I think that's super unfortunate. I mean, again, I think this app is such a needed thing in the community, but I love the transparency.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that I wish there was more of on the Twitch end. But yeah, it sounds like this was definitely a passion project for him as far as making this something that's viable. And I do agree that there is, you know, definitely room to have a resource that's, you know, both convenient and functioning for the esports space, both on the fighting game side and just in general. But, you know, I'm not sure what the original, you know, game plan was, but making these kind of things viable from a financial standpoint is definitely not necessarily the easiest thing to do. Especially you have to figure out, you know, how to approach advertising and things like that, and where the, you know, baseline of your actual, you know, funding is going to come from.
Right.
I know you mentioned some, you know, different evaluations and what the, you know, what they feel like the app and everything else involved could be worth down the line. But yeah, you know, it's hard to balance out what the potential investment and funding could be with, you know, real life numbers and keeping that thing afloat in comparison.
I'm going to have to hard agree with that.
But yeah, he did drop a blog post and some other stuff too about you know, the future of what they can do and what they plan on doing. I know they have a pretty tight timetable as far as, you know, hopefully trying to find someone who's either going to invest or just straight up purchase the company moving forward. That's only roughly about a week or so away at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be here in no time. And what's funny is, you know, I think in some of the earlier episodes of Wide World, we talked about kind of like what esports is growing into. We talked about like some people have made esports beds and like esports foods and lifestyles and so many different types of avenues that esports has kind of bled into, which is good. I think, you know, when we have options like that in the community, it allows the community to foster outside of this whole, it's just a hobby, and we can really like sell it to the next generation of people, or even the previous generation that's kind of like hauling all the money and not letting it kind of rain down on us. Like, hey, this isn't just a hobby, it is a lifestyle. Some people eat, breathe, and sleep esports. And when I think of options like this, I'm like, we got like gamer food and like gamer beds. Like, how did this not make it? But then I also think of the age of the information that we live in right now. I mean, later on in the show, we're going to, you know, jump over to event hubs and talk about CEOTaku and all these other like options and avenues for esports and really just gaming information. I mean, hell, look at us here on Shacknews. Like, we cover a healthy amount of esports. So it is really unfortunate to see an app like this kind of go under. I really, really hope they find an acquirer, because of all the ad reads that I did in Smash, especially for an event as prominent as Genesis, this was definitely one of my favorite ones. And I always, again, talked about how important something like this is for the community, because, Denny, you know, you follow fighting game brackets just as much as the next guy. Like, dude, Start GG, Smash GG. I mean, let's be real, it's a cool website, but like, we need more from that site. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need an app. We need something that's really going to take it to the next level. And it kind of felt like Juke was that. Yeah,
there definitely was a level of investment on that end that it seemed, you know, to be fair, there is a bit of a disconnect, I feel like, at times, where, Jukes as a whole has a interesting concept, but I don't really see the same level of footprint as, some of the other things that they're comparing themselves to. Like he mentioned in the blog post how he thinks that ultimately it would be a social network for esports that would rival a Discord or Twitch in size of scale. But, I mean, as far as, like, how that's following through, I hear, good things about how the actual, how everything works. People who are commenting on the thread and stuff like that seem to be pretty positive about, like, their experience with Jukes in general. But I don't know if it had the same level of reach to match the amount that they believe potential-wise, investment-wise, that it would rival those kind of things, like your Discord and stuff. Kind of similar to, like, when you hear about, like, Gilded, for example, which was, popped up as a competitor for Discord with, certain features and stuff like that. I think having the niche that, is as wide as esports, where there's just so many different ways you can tackle it, is definitely smart. But I just don't know if it ever got that kind of day-to-day kind of reach and traction in a level that, you would like to see for the investment that they're trying to put out there. But, I mean, there's still time, There might be a potential that someone sees that same level of, potential there and are able to invest. But, yeah, it's unfortunate that it looks like this might be going under at this point.
Yeah, it seems like it's one of those things where, like, it just did too much at once, which isn't bad, but it's for the average consumer or, like, the average person who has a smartphone, and it's so easy just to head over to the App Store and just download something or literally click a link and it take you directly there, just skip you a whole step. The average person is very, very lazy. And I feel like sometimes when things are offered to the public for the first time or, whatever, if it's too much of a good thing, like if it's too many good things at once and a person can't really wrap their mind around how this one specific avenue of whatever you're offering me can benefit me to the highest degree, they kind of turn themselves off to it. Now, obviously, you and I, like, we're very much into the gaming space. Like, we could see how something like this could be very good for the community. But, like, the average person that you want to download this, they're going to say, well, how is this going to take me away from event hubs? Like, what are you offering here that I'm not going to get on Discord, or just hashtagging and following my favorite people in the community on Twitter, or any of that type of stuff? And I think it's going to take a very special type of investor that not only just has money, obviously, like, that's like the key component here, but also the outlook and the vision to trust in something like this. Because I personally think this could be good, but maybe just not right now. I just don't know if esports is ready for, like, the one-stop shop target app, for esports,
I mean, I think, like, the point that they were trying to build it into a social networking platform, and there's some things that work there. I mean, if you lean into the positivity aspect, because I get a lot of FGC and esports content from Twitter and such, but of course you also get tons of negativity and just toxicity as well of that kind of, drill up and search, any given weekend. And so I think, having something like this where it's more centralized in a way that would work for both the esports side of things and from the social side of things, it's smart. I mean, it makes sense for you to approach it that way. And it seems like they've had, some positive community building on that side that makes sense. And that's where I think, where you have your event hubs and your shuriken.coms and stuff like that, parts of those communities have been built up over time and they've become, something that people reach out and check on regularly for certain things, but they're still limited to, niches within the community. Whereas this was trying to approach things from more of a, all around, wide scale, which, could work in terms of, keeping things big enough that you can approach sponsors from all, over the esports side of things. But it sounds like it might be a bit more than they could, chew after biting off.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because on their site it actually says they have like an anti-toxicity thing, and I know every social media says that, but yet, as we know, toxic people figure out a way to slip through the cracks. Because as we know in life, the only thing that is constant is trouble and bills, depending on what part of the world you live in. So, toxic people are going to figure out a way through, and I think it's cool. But you are right. those little those little subsections of other forms of social media seem to kind of get the job done. I would personally love to leave the hellscape that is Twitter.com. I mean, I do like Twitter for, you know, what it is, or really any social media platform. But when I think of like, okay, esports could be an app one day, though. Like, it's already food. It's already a lifestyle. People are eating and breathing and sleeping and living off of the whole esports, everything that has been built over the last, I don't know, 25-ish, 30-ish years. You know, it's probably at its most proficient right now. The app, though, like, there's a one-stop shop app, and yeah, it just doesn't, I don't know.
I think when it comes to something like that, though, I mean, moving forward, if we're really going to press into esports being something else down the line, that's going to come down to the personalities involved. I feel like at the end of the day, there's things that it centers around people. I think that people get caught up in like the companies and the games and everything else there, but at the end of the day, like, there's people behind these scenes, either, you know, behind the camera, in front of the camera, you know, from your announcers. Like, all those things get built into a scene, and if it's not supported at a level that, you know, they can make a livelihood, then ultimately I think it falls short down the line. I mean, you have your writers and such, but you're going to need a lot of core people to support an entire community. Whether your intentions are good or not, I think it's just something that has to be really focused on moving forward, as we have a period of time now where we're going to have a bunch of different titles coming out, both on the, you know, the fighting game end and, you know, on the esports end, and new seasons starting, if, you know, your Call of Duties and such. Like, you even look at how, you know, games like Street Fighter are being approached right now. They've gotten so entwined into the community side of things that you've got situations now where, you know, they've got built-in announcing and stuff in-game just to give it more of that, you know, community aspect from jump. And they're also getting, you know, positive and you know, players and major, you know, voices in the community involved early on, just from like the communication standpoint, from a company standpoint. So I think that, you know, as we move into more of the esports scene growing, there's going to be a lot more of that kind of interaction, I think, you know, from your PR standpoint and, you know, just for building that kind of community. I think that sometimes that's kind of skipped on, and we've seen, you know, what happens when you try and move a community from one, you know, platform to the other, like Overwatch League, for example. You know, after the jump from Twitch to YouTube and what was left after that. You know, some of those shifts, you know, and then there's also, of course, going to things in person, coming out of the pandemic and what's going on there. So there's a lot of factors involved in making something like this work. And I feel like there could be other attempts, but people that are trying to invest in esports have to also invest in people.
Yeah, it starts really with the people first. I'm really glad you brought that up, because people are also going to bring good content. And I think there's nothing that I would believe that the app would be able to offer me that if I just wasn't thinking with the laziest, most convenient part of my brain on Twitter. Like, I would just go there for everything that I need. I would just, okay, I'm already here on Twitter. Let's see what Tasty Steve had to say today. Okay, cool. I don't want to get my League of Legends fix. Let me just type in League of Legends, or just follow or find a tweet from my favorite person in League of Legends and see what's going on. Oh, Lil Nas X is taking over the world again. Like, okay, cool. I'm here for this. Like, I think there's a lack of content all the way across the board in esports, and where it lacks on certain social media sites, like, you just get that fix, or you get that you can scratch that itch by just going over into either other communities where you can get that content, or just leaving esports altogether on Twitter and just going over to music or movies or entertainment, where, like, I think an app like Juked is really trying to kind of curate a space that isn't really there yet for the platform. Like, the platform looks good, like the city is nice, everything is there. It's just the people just aren't quite ready for that yet. Like, we got stats, we got bracketing sites, but really what's going to keep people on an app like this is the content all the way across the board. And I would imagine a person like himself probably picked up on that really early, since, you know, like we talked about, he was one of the founding people at Twitch. But it's like, bro, there's just not enough. Like, we're finally starting to get it, though, like Lil Nas X and League of Legends and, like, all these cool things coming to esports, T-Pain streaming on Twitch. Like, we're getting there, but it's just not quite enough content for us to have a centralized hub for it.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to, you know, where who's pushing out what and where the money is coming from. I mean, you have situations like your little Nas X's and stuff where like clearly he's getting paid a ton of cash to make this happen, but you know it's also tied to a song that they hope to make a hit of some kind, and those kind of collaborations happening. I think there's also this level of who's actually a personality, you know, in some of these games. I mean, people, of course, there's tons of folks who are great at the game, and you see on these esports teams, but outside of being the best and their content being, you know, more practice of them being the best, how do we tie that into other avenues of content creation that actually will bring people in and bring them back outside of the game? And that's, you know, something where some scenes struggle more than others. And some scenes have a lot of, you know, content creators that get involved even if they're not, you know, in the top 20 or whatever. But they're able to make things entertaining.
Yeah. I'm have to hard agree with that, man. It's maybe just a little too early in terms of like ideas and innovations, but there is going to be a need for it one day. I hope, you know, Fish Sticks, if you're listening to this, if you happen to go back and watch this clip, I hope you find somebody who can acquire that and you guys can hold out just long enough for the community to catch up and really celebrate the greatness that is Juked. But in the meantime, though, we got to definitely go over to our next topic. Now, Denny, I'm really glad that, you know, we're here today because we got to talk about CEOTaku, which I feel like, you know, obviously a really great event series. Jabali, in my opinion, greatest TL to ever live. 3 CEOs a year, 50,000 dream hacks, Pokemon, you name it. Like, he has his hands involved. But CEOTaku, I feel like sometimes people sleep on. But this one's for the weebs, though, okay? This is scratching that weeb itch for me, Denny. We got to talk about it.
There's been plenty of weeb action this past weekend, for sure. Going down in Florida. But, you know, it is what, I think the 6th year now. So yeah, they've been putting in the work, and there's just a wide variety of both, you know, games and, you know, coverage, and then of course you have your Sonic Foxes and such who just might pull up for anything. But we got a little bit of news too this weekend as well. So overall, everything was pretty impressive. I did watch a couple of watch some Guilty Gear, some Strive this weekend. Was pretty entertaining. So, you know, Leffen making some moves. Apology Man, I believe, was in top 8 as well, with a few other folks. But, yeah, really good showing. I did get to catch some Skullgirls, too. There were some pretty intense matches with Sonic Fox as well at that event. But, yeah, it seemed like from what I was getting on the timeline, people overall had a good time. Really enjoyed themselves with the overall event. It ran well. It's surprising, obviously, that you're barely involved, but it's good to hear some positive, you know, reactions to the overall event and how things are running for people who even were just spectating or, you know, pulling up for the cosplay events and stuff like that and contests, which I saw some pretty wild ones out there. I think someone put on like a full like Mujikan from Tekken outfit with like full on wood blocks and stuff. It's looking pretty wild out there.
Yeah, I'm about it, man. I think Jabali and Tong, you know, they are just working with a different sort of mentality. And this isn't a dig or a shot at any of the other, you know, events out there that kind of fall in a similar category. And I'm saying that as not even just fighting games. I mean, I think at this point, like when you start implementing like cosplay, and we start implementing a lot of stuff like that, it starts to up the experience. And I think CEOTaku is a good way for him to kind of lean into like the innovative route behind his events. Now, of course, we see this most notably front and center at regular CEO. You know, we've seen it whether it's at the Wyndham or it's at the Daytona Beach Resort over in Daytona, Florida. The fact remains the same, is that like there's a ton of things going on at the same time. But I think when it really comes down to it, bringing like the best of the best from like anime culture over into like the video game space, he just is he's thinking on his Walt Disney stuff right now. I've seen some of the videos definitely had like the Jabata emotes involved, and then of course even like the scene transitions were like the anime hands coming in and out, and just You know, Jabali never ceases to amaze me. I know like we could give him his flowers all day, but I think at the end of the day, CEOTaku, of the three between Dreamland, regular CEO, and Otaku, I feel like sometimes just didn't get as much recognition, which is weird because there's 7 years of that. I don't even know how many years of regular CEO, and then like I think 2 or 3 Dreamlands, but people always forget about Otaku. But this one though, this one is the one. Like I think this one's gonna make people pull up next year just as bad as like the regular CEO.
Seemed like I definitely had some good vibes going throughout. I mean, it also is a time where I think people appreciate this more because we're on the cusp of having, you know, a ton of major fighting games release. And so there's a higher chance that, you know, some of these other games may not get as much love from, you know, some of the major scenes. So having a CEOTaku, you know, pushing these titles every year, you know, might become more crucial for, you know, some of these scenes surviving in the long run, more than just being a side game or something like that, you know, with a couple tables and laptops together. So that kind of thing going down the way it is great to see. I know, you know, you got plenty of variety. You know, DF Duels getting some love. You know, Skullgirl still making a scene.
Yup.
And multiple versions of Guilty Gear, you know, which, you know, was part of the news that was going down. But they also announced some of. But it seems like our System Works is definitely staying busy, which I don't think should really surprise anyone. But it makes me curious to see if they're going to have any other surprises for us, you know, before the year is over, with the way things are going.
I agree. And it seems like when it comes to giving the people what they want, they definitely have the right people on the back end of things, making sure that that happens for everyone. It seems like as well at regular CEO, like when I work in Jabali Land, I see a lot of these games ran kind of off to the side. In Jabali Land, I say off to the side very loosely because Jabali Land still has the big Red Bull stage, still packs an audience, especially for some of those games later into the evening. Also, you know, big shout out to 10-0 for streaming a lot of that as well. And of course, Diamond and Domo on the production in the background. But yeah, it's just, it's nice to see that all the games can play nice because there are other fighting game tournaments out there where it's like, well, why does my game get the Friday night 10 a.m. spot and it's done before Saturday? Why does my game get this? Why does my game get that? And it seems like here, when I see regular CEO and I see some of these games ran in Jabali Land, they're like, okay, cool. We'll run, you know, some previous iterations of Guilty Gear in here. We'll run, you know, Unist in here, you know, and you know the main arena can have unit clear, but we know when Otaku comes around, or we know when Dreamland rolls around, or whatever the case may be, that's our time to shine, and we get to flip roles.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I like to see is that, you know, this is becoming a place where that's priority for some of these titles that, you know, again, like as we move into kind of like a new generation of potential, you know, major fighters all hitting at the same time, you know that there's a place where, you know, your game is still going to be welcome, and you can get some of that kind of, you know, some of those moments together with both old and new titles. There's a lot of classics, you know, games that get some love too, and folks pulling out the Melty Bloods and such, and some of the more obscure stuff and just going for it, which is was awesome to see. I think that's kind of how things should be. You know, if there's a scene, if there's people willing to support a game, then there should be some avenue within the scene that supports it.
Agreed.
And that's kind of you know, what CEOTaku is becoming moving forward. But yeah, there was also, you know, a bit of news. Arc System Works did also announce that Goody Gear XRD Revelator and XRD Rev 2 will also be having a rollback netcode update, which will include a public beta test that will begin later next month in October on Steam. So you'll be getting some rollback action on the PC versions of the game. And it seems like Arc System Works is fine with kind of leading the charge here moving forward as far as making rollback netcode the standard for fighting games here. And more power to them. I have no complaints about any of that. You know, embracing more of the PC side of things as well. I think giving people more ways to play and also making it a situation where, if it's doable and the games themselves still have a major scene to them, why not?
Yeah.
It's a good way to kind of set up a standard for keeping your games both, running smoothly, but also, somewhat relevant.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of love. So,
Yeah, man. I mean, it's really awesome to see. When I was doing Jabailing Land, just with this previous CEO, some of the games we were, I was emceeing, and whatever, the audience was like, we want rollback. We want rollback. Like, it's not just, I don't want anybody that watches to think this is just like, an Arc System specific thing. Like, fighting games in general, we just need it. For a multitude of reasons. I mean, the world could go to shit again at literally any time. And because of that, we could be back at home. We need rollback. And honestly, we just live in 2023. Like, we're moving into a new era. Like Denny said, it's going to be another renaissance of fighting games. Why not start this one off better than the last one? Last renaissance period went a little long. We got a lot of great titles. We're missing one key component from a good chunk of those, and that was rollback. And I'm happy that they're doing this. I think every game gets their chance in the limelight for however many months to years before people kind of, forget about it. The big one is that comes to mind is like Dragon Ball Fighters. I'm like, oh, Dragon Ball Fighters was amazing. Love it. And then what the hell happened? It just,
yeah,
they didn't really like change the culture. It was just, it's a cool game, really fun to watch, really fun to interact with. But what is to come of this game after this? I think what makes Arc System so awesome with their titles is that, okay, all eyes are on us. They're going to be on us for a long time. And we know all of our tour stops. We know we're going to hit Evo, Comic Breaker, CEOTaku. When we're here, let's make some noise, some good noise. And I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a smart move. I mean, and this guy's talking about him, on top of, they could drop new announcements about Strive at any time as well. And get some of that news cycle too. But it seems like since there seems to be a new standard set, that it's really kind of making it a easier conversation to have, and less of spamming dev streams, hoping that you're gonna get what you really want. But yeah, I'm hoping that this is something that the Capcoms and other realms and other companies moving forward are going to really take seriously, as far as making sure that there's ways to play with each other that make sense and also run smoothly across the board. More PC support, more crossplay support, those kind of things. Bring people together. I think that we're kind of past the age where games have to be a situation where you're hoping that your friends get the game on the same console, or that you can play it together and everything else there. It should be a lot easier to make that happen in this day and age, I feel like. Unless you're in a situation where you have an exclusive title, which I don't know if we're going to see again this time around with the major titles like we did before. Where some games were just exclusively, PlayStation only and stuff like that. But who knows? There might be some surprises out there down the line, or maybe something a little exclusive. But outside of something like the return of Killer Instinct, I don't see that happening.
Would be nice though. Like, I mean, so me personally, I was always super free at Killer Instinct, but it always made the awesome viewing experience for me. I remember going to Combo Breaker just, a couple years ago. I didn't go to just this previous one, but I think 18 and 19, they may have did an Instinct bracket. And, it's given the current state of the game. It's usually a Friday title, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe early in the day Saturday. But it was something that me and my boys really took it upon ourselves to make sure we caught. I'm in the front row, eating popcorn, eating whatever the hell is around that area. Culver's, I think is what it is. And, yeah, I'm just I'm getting hyped. I would like a return of Killer Instinct, but that's just me personally.
I mean, I had hope at one point, but unfortunately, the company that did the previous game got purchased earlier in the year. Why Microsoft did not buy them out, I don't know. But now, I'm not sure how likely it is to happen. Originally, I thought there was a pretty solid chance but who knows? Maybe they'll get a new team involved and bringing it back just based off of the work that was put into the last one.
Yeah, fingers crossed for them. Yeah, so big shout out, of course, to Jabali and the team down there in Florida. As we all know, or as you may not know, this could be your first time watching anything video game related. Rest assured, friends, if you go to a tournament ran by Alexander Jabali and Tong, it's going to be ran well, and they're going to get the job done the right way. So big shout out to them. Very excited for the next DreamHack, or excuse me, not DreamHack. Well, DreamHack is his next thing coming up in November, but very excited for the next CEO installment. I'm sure he has something up those sleeves of his. Oh yeah, so we got a glitch. So glitch happened this weekend as well. Surprise, another Smash tournament on another weekend. It's just you can't escape it, Denny. We can't escape these Smash tournaments. Glitch Regen, the Final Fantasy / Square Enix inspired Smash Bros. Major went down at MDVA, the home of Smash, and wow, it was I'll be honest. I hear the term less is more thrown out a lot in fighting games here. This was the first one where I was like, they really, really leaned into less is more. This is cool. Like, not as many players as we're traditionally used to, which is good. Players need a break. Great ending. Light, the protagonist, as people like to call him, best player in the United States, won it, going all Fox, of course. But the theme was Final Fantasy characters / Kingdom Hearts characters. And a lot of those players who played Sephiroth, Cloud, and Sora did really well this weekend. Particularly Kameme, as I'm sure it's probably about to play here in the B-roll. I don't have it up yet. But yeah, Kameme, arguably probably the best Sora in the world right now. Put up a pretty healthy fight throughout the majority of the bracket. But Light is still Light and was able to send him packing. He did a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there was some solid competitive play towards the end, and like I'm getting to know more from you guys. Associate a lot more with the Fox play, it seems, but seemed to be some hype for a little Sora hype in there. Final Fantasy characters making a run, but. Yeah, I mean, what would you say the overall, vibe? You mentioned less is more, but, from a competitive standpoint, like, how do you think it felt on, actually in the venue with everyone involved?
Yeah, I mean, it felt, I mean, scale of 1 to 10, I'll do this. I'm going to pull up the stats to make sure, like, I'm just not tripping. Because, like, sometimes, like, we walk into an event and we feel like, all right, there's not a lot of people here. And then, like, you go back and look at the stats, you're like, oh, there was actually 300,000 people at this thing. And I was just, not looking hard enough, or I just wasn't in the thick of things. So here's the actual stats. Glitch Regen happened this weekend, had a prize pool of $6,330 for singles. And the doubles prize pool is $560. So a little smaller than what we're typically used to. I mean, typically is always small. But, again, Smash, poverty, Nintendo's never getting involved because we deserve nothing. I mean, age-old tropes. Number of players, 442 for singles, 112 for doubles. So, I mean, we're coming off of a traditionally quieter month for Smash in September. We had PAX at the top of the month, which was an open bracket invitational style thing. Shortly after that, we had Riptide, which, strong event in the Midwest, put together by Aaron and Panda Global's Josh. Big shout out to those two. Surprisingly enough, that term is not on either circuit, not on the Panda circuit and not on the Smash World Tour. One of the only 2 tournaments since both circuits have been announced that are on either circuit, the other one being Shy. And then we had Summit, which was another invitational. So this was kind of like one of 2 more serious tournaments. But in the interview with Light, and I don't want to spoil anything, he talked about how some of the guys felt a little burnt out. We were missing MK Leo, who, we've talked with Asif about, who he's just kind of on his world traveler thing right now. He's just going to other places. If he can go out the country, any opportunity he can get to take it, he's going to jump right on in. We're missing Tweak. Spargo's still on the hiatus, still working on his mental health. So big shout out to him. And, Light is like, I'm still hungry. I'm going to show up to Xanadu and see where I'm at. And traditionally, Light has done very good in this region of the country. He has won, I want to say, Super Smash Con Fall Fest last year. He won that one in Virginia, and then he won this one here up in Maryland. So big shout out to him, and big shout out to, I guess, the VGbootcamp team. I mean, I know it's not easy to keep doing these tournaments on top of coddling a world circuit, but this tournament was pretty fun. It spoke to the inner weeb in me. There's just a lot of weeb shit going on this weekend, Denny, between otaku and this. So.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like there's definitely a level of burnout with some of the competitors and the way things are going currently. But, it sounds like there is still something to, to see moving forward, even if the money's not necessarily there. Mm-hmm. But let's say, if you didn't show up to Glitch, what's really up next that you would pay attention to moving forward here as we head towards the, summit days and such?
Well, that's actually just a good question. And that was another thing that I kind of talked to Light about in the interview as well, too. Like, what is worth going to versus, like, what's worth staying home? I mean, as a competitor, it's kind of weird to even think like that. Like, I want to go to everything, and I don't want to play the blame game, but when you got two circuits, it's just hard to differentiate between what's important to go to and what's not. Mm-hmm. So to rewind really quick, I'll use the Panda Cup first, and then I'll go over to the Smash World Tour. When we're looking at the Panda Cup, they have a much smaller, much more intimate style circuit. There is no point system. How you qualify for events is very different than the Smash World Tour, which is fine. Of course, the goal is to win the championships in the end. When I interviewed Leo at Low Tide City, he said something very similar about the Smash World Tour bracket. He said, look, I get it. I've won Genesis, I've won an Evo, I've won a lot of things, but the Smash World Tour is our thing. Like, it's our Super Bowl. I need to win this. And I told him I agree. And I think Light is starting to kind of lean into that a little bit more too. He wants to do really well for the Smash World Tour, and he wants to make sure he's going to the right things on the Panda Cup as well. It's hard to kind of pick and choose what's the next important tournament to go to, because both of the circuits tell two very different stories that kind of end into like kind of the same feeling, but the journey there is very different. So it's tough.
Yeah, it sounds like there's definitely has to be some decision making happening moving forward here. I mean, people also seem to like to pretend that the pandemic is over, but the excessive amount of traveling is still a factor. When it comes to people that I have seen some of that in the FGC side of things, where some folks are immunocompromised or do have health issues and other things going on. And so they have to keep that into consideration when there's this much traveling involved in, trying to both stay relevant and also hopefully make it to the big show. So,
it's tough. He brought up I'm going to First Attack in Puerto Rico in October, and I know there's some other people from the fighting game community going as well. I think Yipes is going, James Chen is coming through as well, like Ultra David. The goal that weekend, obviously, is just to jump on as many fighting games as possible, lend our voice, and go home. And for me, that's a big deal, because as much as I love Smash, like, I very much grew up on like Tekken 7 and games like that. So like, I'm very much going there not only as somebody who wants to work, but somebody who wants to exhibit the other communities. Yeah. But then that's a Smash World Tour thing. But then that same weekend is the Big House 10, technically, the Big House 2022. I don't know if they're still doing year installments at this point, but they're pulling up this year, and it's very important for the community because the Big House is the Big House, and it's actually a stop on the Panda Cup as well. And so I know that for the average player, like, if you've already qualified for Smash World Tour, and this is kind of an issue with the players, not so much the organizations, is that once you qualify, you just kind of become a little bit more aloof on what you want to go to. Like, okay, I already qualified for the thing at the end of the year. Cool. I'm going to just take some time off to myself, start going to smaller tournaments across the world. I think that's really cool, but you still got to kind of come back down to earth a little bit and hit these, get on my levels, hit these, I don't know, first attacks, pounds, whatever. But I think there's also the bigger issue, really what it is, and I wish Asif was here for this, the bigger issue is that there are good tournaments happening in boring parts of the country. And so because of that, they're like, well, I don't want to go to Glitch again. If I can take a tournament off, I'll take Glitch off. It's not a lot of points, and it's boring to be in Laurel. I said, well, if you just drive 40 minutes in the opposite direction or in a different direction, you'll end up in a different part of Maryland. You can go and have some fun. So I think people are taking, as human beings, the right things into consideration before traveling, but as professional players, kind of the wrong things at times. Like, I had a lot of fun in Maryland this weekend. I went to the National Harbor area, had some drinks, had some food, got the fuck out of Laurel. Laurel's not fun. So I'm going to go somewhere else. Like, it's not hard.
I mean, I can understand, wanting to see other parts of the DMV. I mean, that doesn't sound, very surprising there. You got to plan accordingly if you're going to have that kind of trip. But, I mean, if you're going there for competitive reasons, I mean, use it as an opportunity for something else, What are your friends up to outside of, just the Smash side of things? There's plenty of folks, plus it's DC, Baltimore, one of the blackest areas in the country. I mean, there's going to be some stuff popping off, regardless, in most cases, you can kind of get into. But, yeah, every time I've gone to, the DMV area, whether it's Baltimore or DC or wherever, it's always been a good time. But I've also had, friends and such around as well, so... But, yeah, I can see why travel factors and those kind of things are also, a big deal. But it seems like there's some conflict of interest with some of these, events starting to clash with each other. And then having to pick and choose which you're going to and when. And, I think that there's also going to be more of that happening if more of the community or folks like yourself get involved in other fighting games and other, scenes. There's going to be more of that kind of switch, action going on there. But,
yeah, somebody from Panda actually made a tweet today. They said, and it's so funny that he tweeted this. First of all, his name is Jet. He works for Panda. Very, very funny guy. He does social media for them and just all around swell guy. He says, does anyone else think there have been way too many Smash events this year, or is it just me? I went on, and the comments, there was a bunch of replies. So I went on to say, yes, we have 2 tours running simultaneously. 3 to 4 major production teams-ish, all the teams, first of all, major production teams, if you can run a major. But, like, in terms of homegrown events plus the major, it's VGbootcamp and Summit. And then there's a lot of other organizations that are white labeled to do other people's stream work for them. Yeah. So the big ones for Smash would be, like, VGbootcamp, Summit, of course. Tenno, they come over from time to time and do their thing. I believe if Panda, if the stop on the tour is a Panda specific stop, then I believe they either have BTS or Tenno come through and do the production. If it's on both circuits, then they just sometimes, I think the whoever they hire to stream it will just stream it or whatever. But regardless, Tenno comes over, and then of course we have Waveform as well, who does countless stuff behind the scenes at CEO and other events, and also other events like Rocket League and League of Legends. But either way, a lot of production teams all the way across the board. We have 2 tours. We have 3 to 4 broadcast teams, 4 summits. We do 2 Melee ones and 2 Ultimate ones a year. And then that same summit team does their own standalone major called Main Stage in December. So it goes Main Stage, Panda Cup Finals, Smash World Tour Finals, Christmas, New Year's, start of the new year. And I'm just like, now wait a goddamn minute. This is too goddamn much. And I went on to reply to this tweet. Listen, I went on to reply to this tweet because you know how like Smashers can be petty. I said, this isn't anyone's fault per se, because we all have dreams and we all have the right to chase them, like J. Cole said, right? But yeah, it's too much. I hope in 2023, everyone can get on the same page. Now, get on the same page could be we schedule things better. Maybe we get one consolidated circuit, just like how Street Fighter and Tekken can have, or anything. Yeah. But this is too much, bro.
I mean, do you think that it would work if they approached it from, a seasonal standpoint, where it's more of a, there's a summer scene and there's like a scene that's set for fall and winter between the two, and they're not really running at the same time? It's more so just a core base of events that, first half of the year, and then not as much running on the second half of the year from the same team. And there's more of that kind of understanding between both circuits? Or would that still be too much of a conflict?
It might be too much of a conflict. So I think it's kind of like a 1 and 1A problem. It's like it's like not like who's the bigger threat or whatever. Like for instance, like look at the early 2000s Lakers. It's like who's really more the threat between Kobe and Shaq? It's like kind of a 1 and 1A thing. Like I can't really look at it as, you know, those two forces together. Because I think what the big issue is that we have two circuits. And because there are two circuits, both sides are valuing the idea of what a major is separate. But like different tournaments are on different circuits, and then there's some that are shared. So like, and again, this is no shot at like any of the tournaments that are out there. I'll just use the first one that comes to mind right now because they're the newest one. I'll use Rise and Grind. We talked about them last month, middle of August sometime. We had a tournament every weekend from Evo literally to the end of the month. If we had one circuit and we could pick and choose which majors need to be on this, just for the sake of storytelling, gathering points, flights, esports teams, everything needs to be involved when we do this, then we'd be good to go. But the issue is like Panda Cup has their own tournaments that are considered majors, which means, well, fuck, I want to go to all of those because I want to qualify for their thing. But then over here on Smash World Tour, those same events aren't really considered majors for them, or they're just not on the Smash World Tour stops. I want to make sure I qualify for this. I feel like if both joint parties came together, we can chop down the list of majors on the circuit. And not to say that whatever tournament that's not on the circuit isn't worth going to. I'm not saying that at all. But like, this is a circuit. We can't have 4 events every month on the circuit. Like, there has to be some level of exclusivity. Like, okay, I missed the April qualifier. Got to go to the one in May. Got to go to the one in June. Not, I missed Rodney's Rapping Roundup Fest. I'm going to go to the Denny Von Doom circuit tomorrow. Like, that's not fair. That's just too much.
I mean, how much is that, you know, a pride thing at this point? You know, is there more of a clash because one thinks they can do it better and they're not going to really back down from putting on the things that they want to put on at this point? Or is it, you know, if we look at the money and the amount of time and effort it takes to make these things happen, where it would be that kind of shift, you know, not necessarily from a humbling, but just from the state of where the scene is now?
That's a good question, bro. So I'll start with VG first. VG has, between the amount of events that they do a year, they do a double down in Las Vegas, which is kind of like we got kicked out of Evo / we kicked ourselves out of Evo / we just really don't deserve to be there / a bunch of other things. So they give us double down in Vegas. And then they have a tournament called Pound that they bought. Pound wasn't originally their event. They bought the rights of Pound from somebody else, and now they run that in MDVA. Then there's an Apex happening in November, which is like one of the most legendary Smash majors. They brought it back from the dead, and they're putting a new twist on it to remove the negative narrative that was on it. You get 2 glitches a year, which we're at 5 now, and then they have a big hand in SmashCon. So even separate from the circuit that they're doing, they have 6 events that they do a year.
Yeah.
So cool to see. Super dope. And so even just there, doing all those events plus all the other tour stops could be a little taxing. Now, I will say that they spread them out very well, and they also do these in different parts of the country. A good chunk of these, of course, are on the East Coast, but Double Down is on the West Coast, and there's other qualifying stops that are on the West as well. Then you have the Panda Cup, which is a much smaller circuit, which isn't their fault. You know, they announced it last year. COVID came through, blew them up. Nintendo's like, before we do any of that shit, we need to make sure that COVID is tamed so that we can jump back in the way we need to. So they jump back in, and they kick off the circuit with, I believe it was CEO. CEO was the first stop. And as of right now, the only Panda Cup solo thing, like right now, I think maybe Big House is another Panda Cup solo one. But they've done CEO to kick it off, which is a good jumping off party. CEO's a great event. A lot of Jabali's, you know, history and lore, you know, a lot of what he does, he had a very helping hand in the Melee community. You know, long story short, basically, because I don't want to ramble too much on this, they've just done too many tournaments. Like, there's too many tournaments between the two. Yes, the Smash World Tour has way more stops than the Panda one, but I think that both parties need to get together, because then we also have BTS who do 2 summits plus a main stage. So that's 5 more weekends out the year that have been taken. And then you got players coming out of Summit, which is an invitational. So I'm fighting some of the best players in the world all weekend, no pool. I mean, there are pools, but I'm not fighting pools players. I'm fighting national talent. And then I got to jump into the next major and then pace myself differently. And it's like, I really feel like, all right, we don't deserve Nintendo, but I really feel like everybody's like, I got to be the team to like get this circuit and get the community on the right tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, if we all can't be that person on the team now, like we all can't be the person to get the communities on our backs. And so now we got two circuits and all this stuff happening simultaneously. And it's kind of causing burnout a little bit. Everybody just needs to, boom, come together, one circuit, some summits, we'll be good to go.
Now, I mean, with that being said, what would you rate, percentage-wise? What is your thought as far as that actually happening next year? Out of 100, where are you landing as far as that actually becoming the future of the tournament scene?
100 being most likely or most unlikely?
Let's go with most likely.
I'm probably less than 50%. I'm like maybe at 30, 40. And I say that not because anybody has issues with each other on the back end, but so for people who don't know this, there was issues with like Nintendo was putting out a series of tweets years ago when Nintendo Versus first launched. Like the launch of the Switch was coming out. There's like, are they leaning into competitive gaming now? What's going on? And they're a little bit more picky with the events that they partner with. If you've noticed, when it came to events like Smash and Splash or Super Smash Con, Nintendo doesn't really, I'm not saying Nintendo doesn't support these events or that they don't want them to happen, but because it has the word Smash in it, I'm just letting people know like that is one of the stipulations on them kind of getting involved and giving it that push, that promotion. Still go to those. Well, Smash Splash is not a thing anymore, but please still go to Super Smash Con. And I don't want anybody to get mad at Nintendo for this. I mean, these are your IPs. You got to protect them.
Yeah.
I think the list of events that Panda is involved with versus the list of events that Super Smash or the Smash World Tour is involved with are two very different lists. And I don't want to go in and try to pick and choose on like why they decided to pick which event and why certain events aren't on there. But I think there's just no universe where, for lack of better terms, both sides kind of come in the middle and play nice. I think, the name Smash World Tour is enough for Nintendo to be like, yeah, we probably not going to be able to do nothing with that. The word Smash is in it. Just ain't going to be a thing. And I also think, and this isn't a dig at Panda at all, but Smash World Tour, they're thinking global. Panda's thinking stateside. That's a conflict of interest right there. So, I don't know, man. Fighting games, you guys just get it right. Like, you guys do your Red Bull, Conquer, what is it? The Conquer, Conquest, Defeat circuit. And then, it's a small thing. You guys did the Subway battles, the Capcom Tour, the fucking Dragon Ball Fighters Tour, the Tekken Tour, and then Evo. And see, like, everybody just works so cohesively together. And Smash is just like friction, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is true. But, I mean, there is also, company support, though. I mean, you got your Capcom Cups, and you got, Arc System Works gets involved, and, Bandai Namco, and NetherRealms, does their thing. So there's a bit of a different dynamic when you have, you're going to get company support, coming in to your Evos and such, or, who's got Sony involved now, and stuff like that. So there's going to be both money and to make sure those events stay prestigious and well organized on that run. So, I mean, it's a bit of a different, problem that the Smash side has to deal with. They can cause some conflict, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, you do have your Red Bulls and such that will put on different events that also, gain plenty of traction, but don't have to be the same thing that everyone else is doing. They have like their team-based battles and, their exhibitions and stuff like that. Or, events where they invite players out for the same way that, there's things like Summit and stuff like that. But I feel like more of like both the production side and just putting on a good event, Red Bull kind of has their reputation built up now because they give the people what they want to see. If there's people that maybe haven't met in bracket or stuff like that, throughout the season, you're getting them together, you know, on opposite teams or, you know, in different situations. Or they make it into more of a rivalry situation when you have, like, okay, here's the East Coast versus West Coast, you know, or here's a team from the South, you know, and you go up against, you know, a team from the East and stuff like that, where you get more of, like, that kind of dynamic going and folks are having to kind of pick sides. And I think that's the way to go about it, you know, create, like, events that are actual events. Like there's a reason for people to come together, and it's not just because of we need to do something in this area.
Right. And not everything needs to be a tournament, too. I think that's one thing Red Bull is really good. Really just the fighting game community in general. The amount of things I've been to that people are playing fighting games, but, like, it's not a tournament and it's not an exhibition. Like, I can still plan this, but, like, it doesn't feel serious, but it still feels serious. Like the Red Bull stuff, or, like, even like the stuff on E-League. Like, E-League came through, put this shit on TV and did it very, very well. Didn't overlap with, like, Combo Breaker or anything. Like, I'm pretty sure I remember, like, Sage and Tasty Steve literally doing the E-League and then flying over to Combo Breaker, getting their Saturday morning to do their stuff there. Like, they worked really well in tandem with each other. And I would really hope, you know, Smash can get to that one day. But if Smash never does it, I tell you what, there's going to be a game that is going to do it. We're going to lightly touch on it real quick, and that is, you guys, good friends, Multiverses. Multiverses, they got a lot of money. Let's start there. They got a lot of money, a lot of ideas, a lot of IPs, but not a lot of tournaments in person. Now, I just did a tournament online a little bit ago with my buddy Max. He works for the gaming stadium over in Vancouver. They do a Friday night / Saturday kind of like Multiverses thing online. Cool. Multiverses is existing in an online format right now. That's awesome to see. You're flexing how good your online play is. It's pretty fucking great. We need to see some in-person shit, though, soon. All right. Right now, they're kind of taking the Mortal Kombat approach where, like, yes, our game is good, it's competitive, you know, it's viable in that regard, but look at all these cool characters we're adding. And so right now, the newest one is Rick Sanchez, which we all knew was coming even before the game was, like, even a thing, really. We knew this character was going to be in there. And he's coming tomorrow, which is awesome. But I can't help but to feel like my hype is a little tarnished because there's no offline gameplay right now. Like, I need an offline tournament, Denny.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely agree with that. I think it's we're kind of at the point where I feel like Multiverses, it's got a unique dynamic because it is free to play, but there is an element, I think, where now that we're at where we're at, there has to be some online play coming at some point soon. I mean, and I'm not sure exactly if they're prepared to, you know, put together an entire, you know, tournament circuit or anything like that yet. Because it does seem like they really want to focus on balance and getting that kind of stuff right. I mean, there's also, you know, adding in all the characters they plan on adding in, you know, for whatever they consider season one. But yeah, I think there's definitely a period of time where we're at right now where there should be more of that kind of emphasis. I have seen, like, a couple of things pop up, you know, about some international things going on, maybe outside the country, as far as, like, events go, but those aren't, you know, anything that's being sponsored directly by WB.
Right.
So I think that there might be plans for them to put together something in a way that's tied to another, you know, promotion or, you know, franchise or something like that. And I think that might be kind of the route they're going, where, you know, you got Rick and Morty here. The new season just started on Adult Swim, like this week, I believe. So maybe there's a situation where the marketing side of things is saying, hey, we can kind of put together some things for the character side of things this next couple of weeks. And then maybe we'll move more into the actual tournament scene and competitive side once we have the characters that we want to release for the season out there, and we've released our balance patches and all that stuff. Because it did seem like there was somewhat of a quick turnaround after Evo, or even before Evo, when, you know, they had released kind of like that balance patch and said what was going to be available, you know, during Evo period and what wasn't going to be. And they kind of took that pretty seriously. So I feel like just with the way the developers have kind of spoken on it, it seems like maybe they want to approach making sure the game itself is not a period of what they consider brokenness before pushing for something major. And
Yeah.
But I can't see this game going the rest of the year without having some kind of major event tied to it at some point.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe it's yeah. It's good marketing. I will give it that too. Like the whole no tournament thing, and then boom, we just pop up with like one big one. That's fucking awesome. Like something good is to come of that. And well, you know what? Actually, maybe, because Multiverses is again in a community like the platform fighting one, where it's like, what have you done for me lately? And yes, you've been giving us really cool characters, but are these characters enough for me to book a flight? Are they enough for me to get a hotel room for the weekend and compete in this bracket? I think the community is still strong. I'm in the Discords, like they talk every damn day.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think that comes down to WB money.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's going to be the big. I mean, that's when you're starting to book flights. It's when it comes down to the money, especially if you feel like, folks are sleeping on it. You have a decent chance. I mean, why not? Why not go for the big money? I mean, we do have events coming up like New York Comic Con. There's other things out there that maybe they'll dabble into. I would say if DC fandom was still happening, that might be a good opportunity. But that's all been downsized since the Discovery merger has started to happen. But yeah, I think there has to be something that happens in which they pop up. But I would. This entire thing feels like just such the opportunity to have some tie-ins. Like, why not run this Attorney and have it on Cartoon Network or something?
Thank you.
I don't see why you couldn't do those kind of things and have it be a big deal. Even if it did start off as online and then you moved it into something else. I think if you got that kind of range in broadcasting where you're seeing this game pop up, on weekends, on actual TV. You can make a lot of big waves with just that. So we'll see where they definitely are supporting the game as far as I feel like they have long-term plans for it. But it would be nice to see some kind of idea of what they have in mind for the competitive scene outside of, just playing with your friends or, an online stasis and stuff like that. But
I'm gonna have to agree. Multiverses is pulling up to Lost Tech City, which is I'm pretty sure the next tournament from Smash we're gonna have to cover for next week. So surprise, friends, spoiler alert, there's gonna be another fucking Smash tournament next weekend. But the best news attached to this one, of course, is on the Panda Cup, that we talked about before. So big shout out, of course, to the Panda team. But they're also running Multiverses there too. Multiverses, and I know we talked a little bit about this either an episode or two ago, but this one here is at Lost Tech City, sponsored by MetaBoy NFT. Give them a $5,000 pop bonus. So, obviously not the Evo prize pool, but I would imagine this is the second biggest prize pool since Evo. So this should kind of go to show people how important this game is still to the community. I just hope that with all this DLC and all these characters coming out, that there is either a circuit or a tournament series announced sometime before the end of the year. I know they probably don't want to overlap any big tour announcements with what's going on over in Smash. They have a lot of good crossover from that, but dude, I need something fast, man. I need something fast, Denny.
I mean, I think it would be a good opportunity for them to maybe, do a live stream or something, start to establish a bit more of the community side as far as there's been plenty of communication on Twitter and such, but I think if they had more of a developer stream or something like that with other information about what the esports scene is going to look like and things like that. I mean, we get the kind of information from, games like Rumbleverse, there should be this level of communication should spread to the competitive end and organizing end a bit more. I feel like moving forward, so there's opportunity here for them to kind of get things back on track on that end. I am a bit more lenient because it is a free to play game. I mean, it's not like you just shelve $60 for this and then you're not hearing about it in the competitive scene. it does seem like they are focusing on, you know, balance and stuff like that with the amount of characters that they're trying to push out, you know, early on. But it just has to be a bit of a balance as far as how you're going to communicate with the community as you grow in a way that's going to be both positive and get people excited about the idea of going and playing this game outside their house. But there's opportunity there. We just have to wait and see if they actually start moving into more of that. But I do think that with the amount of potential, you know, both character-wise and everything else, that they could make a scene and make a splash at any time if they really just decide they want to launch something, or, hey, this character's coming out next week and we also have a tournament to celebrate it.
It's true. Very true. They could literally just stop everything and blow the entire world up at any point in time, and people would pay attention. So, I mean, you are definitely right in that regard. And maybe I'm being a little pushy or a little whatever. You know, this is WB. I know that they do have a lot of money and a lot of ideas. And Tony has been very vocal in the competitive community, too. Like, if it's a tournament with a big enough bracket, like if you tweet at him about things, you know, he's very quick to retweet it. You know, he's always sifting through his ever-growing mentions. I mean, I remember following Tony on Twitter at the start of all this when we were doing our coverage at Shacknews, and he had, like, you know, barely 10,000 followers. Now I'm pretty sure he's at 100 and something now, verified, doing his thing. So I know his mentions are a shit show on the daily, but it just goes to show that even as big as he is getting with constantly polishing this game, perfecting it to, you know, the T, he's like, you know what? I got to still retweet streams. I got to still push out information. I got to still respond to people when they hit me up about, you know, patches and, you know, this character does this a little too much. You should look at this. You know, he's taking all of it into consideration, but
yeah.
I'm being a pushy gamer. I just want my damn in-person tournament so I can show up and get hype in the front row from Wonder Woman. That's all I want. That's all I want. I couldn't make it an Evo. That's all I want.
I mean, it's somewhat understandable, though. I mean, there are aspects where I'm like, were you all prepared for the level of interest this game was going to have? And were you prepared for the after effects of having successful event like at Evo and everything else happening there? It seems like they're kind of playing a bit of catch up with both the community side and the developer side, and when they want to roll out things and how that kind of communication is going to happen. I think once they just have more of an organized framework for where it's not just, you know, blurbs or blog posts or whatever, there's actual, like, you know, a sit down video or, you know, stream or something where we're like, okay, here's where we're going moving forward. Like, I think some of that anxiety will kind of go away once there's more of that revealed, instead of it just being, we're going to tease the next character, and then we're going to tease the next character, and then here's Gizmo, and then, you know, like, we're bringing out these characters, which, I mean, works to a certain extent from the PR side of things, but characters aren't enough. They're definitely great for staying relevant, you know, when you have a game that's actually fun, but when it comes to people who are going to support this game when it's not, you know, the hottest thing out every week, you have to support that community and the people that are going to compete. So you have to start speaking to them and adding in elements of what's going to be the future for them moving forward, and not just the characters or who's going to show up here, you know, because I'm sure it can be overwhelming with the amount of, like, people are spamming, like, when are we going to add Harry Potter, you know, and, like, tossing that into your mentions constantly. Like, I'm sure that's a lot. You know, like every Batman character that ever existed is getting the request, you know, from someone spamming, you know, roster stuff over and over again. But at some point, there has to be some kind of established, you know, setup for what you want the community to be moving forward and what the competitive scene should be moving forward. And then how are you going to support that in comparison to your Smash Nintendo scene? You have a direct example of what, you know, not to do in some scenarios. So that's kind of where I stand at it. You know, again, it is a situation here where anyone can hop on and play. You got, you know, cross-play. You got free-to-play. There's plenty of ways to sustain the player base to a certain extent. And I think, imagine having, like, both a major tourney and then having a major reveal at said tourney and then saying, hey, this event was Saturday and this character will be out on Monday.
Mm.
You get both the competitive scene involved, and you also get people hyped for a brand new character you're bringing into the game, which they have plenty of.
True. That is a good way to look at it. They could definitely double dip in that regard because we see other fighting games do it all the time. I mean, hell, we even just seen it happen at seen the announcement of EVO. Like how important it is to make sure that you show up and show out on a stage big enough, for your announcement is very, very pivotal. I think to the success of your game. Even like I think one of the things that made Smash Ultimate one of the best fighting game of all time in quotes. Was their presence, of course, at E3 and the announcements, and then of course their presence at the Game Awards and everything too. So multiverses, I know you guys have a plan in hand. I'm just, like I said before, just being a pushy gamer, but I know something good is to come. Let's jump into this next topic here really quick. So we have our first of many coming soon, Esports Roundups, and this is just going to be like some quick hits on a couple topics happening throughout the community. And for the first one here, Denny, the IEM Rio Major prize pool has increased to $1 million. God damn. This change means any teams who qualify for the major will now earn prize money. That is a lot. $1,250,000. That is that's quite a bit of check. Yes.
I mean, we were just talking about, money and support. That's what gets people, moving on, the traveling and everything else there. I mean, and think about it, who knows? Maybe Multiverse will be the type of game where you do have sponsored players down the line or something like that, depending on how much money is involved. But, yeah, I mean, this is definitely a pretty big deal, I feel like. Intel's definitely got cash. And such as well. But that is quite a large amount. And I think the split as well is also pretty juicy, just in general. I mean, you're looking at $500,000 for first place. That's that's enough money to start figuring out what your next house is going to look like.
Man, that's drop everything and figure out what the rest of my life is going to look like, and depending on, I mean, honestly, what is really any money in this economy? I mean, shit can happen tomorrow and it can all be gone, but this is quite a bit of money. First, 500,000, second, 170,000, third through fourth, 80,000, fifth through eighth, 45,000. There's some people in this country who will never see $170,000 in a year for work, let alone their entire life. $20,000 from 9th through 16th, and of course $10,000 for 17th through 24th. And it says, in addition to this tweet, the additional $250,000 is being relocated from the IEM Road to Rio prize pool, $240,000 plus, and an additional $10K. Previously, the minimum placement 17th through 24th had no pricing allocated. That's been raised to $10,000 each. And the remainder is distributed across 2nd through 16th place. So that's awesome to see. I believe this is the second biggest Call of Duty event. I believe the first one was, that I have it here in the notes. Oops. Don't want to add emojis to the Google Doc. Second biggest one behind, God damn, go away. Oh, Stockholm. They did an event in Stockholm that we talked about earlier in the year. That had a $2 million prize pool. So, yeah, PGL Stockholm. One thing about, these other esports is that every time I think we're making some money moves out here in the land of fighting games, and this is coming from somebody from the impoverished of all the fighting game communities, I look over here what our friends are doing in first-person shooters, and I'm just like, goddamn, playing the wrong games.
I mean, Activision's making a ton of cash off of, Call of Duty. The beta has been trending since, last week as things have been unrolling for, different consoles and everything else there. And people will put in the hours. So both, content-wise, watching everything else there. And ESO is obviously established. So there's just a lot of major things in play here. And there's big plans for Call of Duty, it seems, with both, I'm sure, the amount of pre-orders they've already looked at, sale-wise, and then the competitive side of things. So, yeah, it's a pretty big deal. We have to definitely keep an eye on Call of Duty moving forward with some of what's planned. I know we mentioned some things last week, but there's definitely going to be some major scenes building out of that as we move forward. It's definitely a interesting fall we have coming up between COD, There's plans for more Halo events, which I'll probably touch on a little bit. And there's also Overwatch 2 dropping in like basically a week as well, whatever that competitive scene looks like moving forward. You still have your Apexes and stuff, which can drop, in each season whenever. So, yeah, as far as the first-person shooters go, there is definitely plenty of competition out there for people's attention. On top of your usual Fortnites and such. So,
yeah, shit ton of competition, and it's certainly stiff, man. So this next one here, we have Team Fnatic. So it looks like some of the players have contracted COVID. They've tested positive, which is so fucked up. No matter if you're a professional esports player, you're just, any old damn body. Like, I don't wish that on anybody, somebody who has had it. It says, with Worlds 2022 fast approach, we wanted to provide an update to our amazing fans. Unfortunately, both Upset and Hylisang have tested positive for COVID-19, and their journey to Mexico will be delayed accordingly. We are currently working closely with Riot on the matter and doing absolute everything within our power to ensure our team arrives safely ahead of their first match on the 29th of September. Our players' health and well-being are our first and foremost priority. Both players are feeling okay, and we wish them a speedy recovery. We will provide updates as we receive them in the following days. And yes, friends, just in case you forgot, Denny and I are here to remind you that we are still living in a panoramic, okay? It's not over yet. It's still fucking happening. And some of your favorite players, favorite teams are closely affected by it. So I don't know what you guys could do outside of like sending them some love and support. You guys can still keep wearing masks out there, keep your hands washed. I mean, the world is still open, but we can still get out there as safely as possible, man. Like, this is fucked up.
Traveling internationally is still, a risk. And regardless of what people might think, there's still elements to that where I think that there should be portions of moving forward, like preparation involved. In this situation, is there a backup, for folks who might be affected by COVID? Do you reschedule, or do you have a situation where they play isolated from everyone else at the actual venue? It's all a lot of things where I'm not sure how they're going to go about it moving forward on the league end. But, yeah, I mean, kicking off Worlds with 2 your starting players out is definitely pretty rough.
Yeah, it's very, very rough. Very unfortunate for sure. Just Worlds, it being as important as it is, it's good to stay in good health. And this, again, kind of ties back into what we talked about earlier, like the importance of making sure that online play and just if there is some sort of timeline where we have to play, like, not in the same room, that the online play, not just in fighting games, but gaming overall is where it needs to be. Because, again, this, for a lot of people, is their life. And, traveling internationally is such a dice roll these days. I mean, I have to go to Puerto Rico in October, and there's a potential Dominican Republic trip. And I'm like, even though that's a little closer, I'm still like, new environment, people I've never been around, they've never been around me. I don't want to bring them anything. And I mean, that would be mega unfortunate. Sometimes I think we're always, not like you and I, but when people talk about like traveling, they always talk about the risk of somebody giving you something. I'm like, but you could actually be the issue, my friend. So long story short, just think once or twice, hell, maybe even 3 times before you take that international trip, and make sure you're in good health. I'm talking you sneeze 3 times in a row, 4 times in a row, like, go get tested. You know what I'm saying? Your eyesight might feel a little different today, or you got like a headache, just go get tested. It wouldn't hurt. And it's free depending on how you do it.
Yeah, this is, you're spitting facts there on that end. I did want to bring up, something as part of the roundup, because there was a Halo event this past weekend, which was, will seem to be fairly entertaining for those who were stepping in and watching. But it's leading into the championship, the Major League event that's going to be going down next month. So this event went down in Orlando, and it came down to a showdown between Optic Gaming and Cloud9, which Cloud's also been in the news more recently for different things. But yeah, looks like there was a bit of a competition for a bit, but it ended up being pretty straightforward for Optic Gaming. They took it, I believe it was 4-1 at the Championship Sunday on day 3. But yeah, plenty of solid showings from the other teams involved with the overall event. But it looks like there's definitely plans for a continuation with the overall Halo scene. Obviously, there's the major event happening next month, but there was also a bit of news about there being a potential for a Halo Battle Royale side that some outlets were reporting on as well earlier today. And some of the hinted developers involved there may be getting a little trigger happy with showing off some of what they've been working on. So we might see Halo expanding into some of the Battle Royale that they originally were talking about and promising, despite there being some elements of the multiplayer side and co-op side that just aren't happening at this point. But this is an opportunity for it to be somewhat of a brighter side to Halo moving forward. Now, there's definitely plenty of work that has to be done as far as the competitive scene goes, but it seems like Microsoft is willing to let things kind of roll for a while as far as making this into something that people are interested in carrying forward with Halo Infinite and such. Now, we'll see if there's more that comes out later on, but if there rumors of the Battle Royale side are true, then there might be a different type of competitive scene growing out of that moving forward. But yeah. Seems like it was a pretty powerful balance of teams in the top 5 overall. But Optic kind of carried it moving into the last bit there on day 3.
That's good. That's good. I mean, honestly, Denny, we've talked a lot about Halo here since we've been doing Wide World together. And, honestly, even before, we were both brought on. But it's good to hear some good news attached to the game finally. And I'm not saying finally as if it's never had any good news attached to it, but more times now when we're covering it, it's like we're throwing an alley-oop and then Asif comes down and boom, slam dunks it, because there's just a lot too much shit going wrong with this game and not enough good things. And if myself, as somebody who's a novice in Halo, is noticing it, at a very surface level, and I know more advanced players like Surfer Boy Sam in the chat, of course, big shout out to you. What's up, homie? Good morning, right? It should be morning there. Good morning, my friend. And then, of course, Asif and Blake and yourself and everybody else who's much better than me. So it's good to see some good news. I know one of my roommates up here, he plays Halo from time to time with some buddies across town. And, he's mentioned it a few times that, hey, I just wish this game was better. It's, there's just no other way to really spin it. And I say, hey, I'm with you. I know a lot about devoting a good chunk of your life to a game that fucking sucks. So I get it, man. So, but yeah, he's all jokes aside, though, I'm glad to see Halo is bringing some positivity, because with the 343 news that we covered just a little bit ago, and then of course just everything that's wrong with the game, it's easy to go down that rabbit hole,
Yeah, I mean, there's elements of the thing about Halo and some of the other shooters is that when you have a background where there's things that people love, and they're not getting that same feeling from the gameplay anymore, and especially when you have something like this where there's a Master Chief Collection and stuff like that, where you've got ways to play the classic games and play them competitively, and then you have what's supposed to be the future of the franchise that's just not living up to expectations from those who want to play it competitively. That becomes a constant source of conflict. And you see it on Call of Duty side as well. I mean, I'm hearing mixed sides. Some people are loving the new COD, other people are saying it's just not hitting the same way. But at the end of the day, we'll see what happens when the competitive side starts to pick up, whether people are following through with it and where that goes. But yeah, we're kind of in an interesting time period where there's plenty of competition, but there's also people that just long for really returning to some of their favorite franchises and whether it's really worth it. So we'll see where things go with Halo moving forward. Again, they do have their kind of their big finale next month, so maybe they'll have some announcements then following the end of the event to kind of share with things moving forward there too. But we got a couple weeks until things go down on the Halo Championship Series. But maybe they'll have some announcements there that will get the fan base a bit hype moving forward. I mean, overall, the prize pool for the event, I believe, was like $3 million or so, which is pretty wild in itself. And also, we're coming up on the anniversary of Halo Infinite too, which I think is November 15th, I believe.
Think so.
Yeah, there's a lot going down there, but yeah, with a tournament circuit, it's got $2 million in cash monies for a game that people have been poo-pooing on for quite some time. Yes, it's a big deal for sure.
Yeah, and it ain't even like the cute poop, like baby poop. It's like, it's watery. It's like, a night out of drinking and spicy food poop. Like, people are just, it's getting a little hectic out there in the Halo streets. But the last one, really quick, I just want to touch on very, very briefly. This issue came up here the other day, and I kind of resonated well with it because I have been a victim of staying in shitty-ass hotel rooms. Simple O. I believe Simple O is, if I'm not mistaken, a professional player for Team Navi. And they weren't particularly happy with ESL. The tweet says, "Hey ESL, wake up and tell your employees to remember what professionalism is. Terrible communication with the teams and with this shit hotel." So, of course,
that's the complete opposite of the previous announcement we just had between ESL and Intel.
I know, right? I know. Yeah, you just kind of flipped the script, and Sasha's just like, "Hey, look, I'm not happy about this." Apparently, their hotel room, the staff was a little rude, and that happens from time to time. I've had some rude hotel people. Just this last tournament I was at, staying in the room, and one of the managers comes in the room and she goes on to say, "Hey, are y'all still supposed to be in this room?" And I'm like, well, that's kind of how hotel rooms work. Once I lay down in this room, I hope I'm laying down in a bed that belongs to me. And she was like, "Oh, well, the person who paid for this room only paid for it for X amount of nights. What do you do?" I said, "Well, I am cemented to this bed at this point, ma'am. So you're going to have to get the fucking Avengers to come and remove us." Because, but, we figured it out. Yeah, you gotta call Thor or something or whatever. Like, come get him, because I'm not moving. Okay, I'm cemented. Like Lil Wayne said, I'm nailed to the floor. But Sasha, said there's a lot of mold in their hotel room, and I personally am not a big fan of mold myself. I know the absolute dangers. Yeah, you inhale that shit, and it could probably kill you. I think I linked the tweet where there was mold, or maybe I didn't. I thought I linked it. But
I do see that there's reply that he says that he woke up with ants in his bed.
Oof. Yeah, I don't really like ants when they're not in the dirt. Like, I don't like them in my bed. It's not where they go. Yeah, very unfortunate. Of course, being a top player with a lot of clout and a lot of influence, I am able to not only just dunk on ESL, but I'm also able to dunk on the hotel. And I would imagine ESL and the hotel kind of struck some deal where we can get rooms, decent rate, get players in there, boom. So they probably seen that and fixed that shit immediately. So I hate that this had to go to Twitter, but that's the day and age we live in where, like, hey, I'm not getting what I want. It's going to Twitter.com.
I feel like it's a little weird to like to state it like your employees, the ESL employees and their professionalism is being tested in that situation when it's like, this is a hotel problem and the hotel staff are an issue. I don't think that ESL was like, yeah, we saw like mold and ants and we're just gonna put you in there anyway. I feel like that would be more of a situation where like they didn't know that there was a problem, and then it comes down to how fast they fixed the issue moving forward. So I feel like going on and then not coming for the hotel. You don't get a hotel name here or the name of the hotel company or anything, but going directly to like ESL as the issue. It's a bit weird. I feel like maybe they approached them first and they didn't get a response, or they weren't getting a response, when this first started happening. And so it turned into okay, well, now you're just ignoring me. and we're gonna move into me just blasting you on Twitter in comparison to a situation where it's like, okay, this hotel was not what we thought it was, and it's escalated to something more than that.
Yeah, so it could have went down like that too. I mean, I try to exhaust literally all options before I have to go to Twitter and like blow up American Airlines, and it's very easy to dump on them because I fucking hate American Airlines. But obviously this is a different case here.
Pretty much across the board.
Yeah, I found the tweet here. I linked it in the Google Doc, and it says, "I have never complained about this. I just get mad because I had 2 rooms yesterday. They told me that I need to check out from one room at 11 a.m. And when I wake up today, they tell me to move to the same room from yesterday to check out of this one." And then he takes a picture. They took a picture, excuse me, of the mold. And this mold is molding. I mean, this is quite a bit. I wouldn't want to breathe any air in this room. That's just me. And I'm pretty good at breathing, so I wouldn't want to breathe in this room. So,
not trying to breathe any of that in, through that ventilation system. Doesn't look like it's anything that I would want to be a part of either. No, don't want to be a part of that world. Yeah, that looks disgusting. Very sorry about this, but I have to say though that stuff like this is not done intentionally as a dig or as a way, but again, like you mentioned, what probably happened is that there was just lack of communication. There's probably a lot of things happening. And I feel like in esports, sometimes there are people who handle talent, whether the talent being broadcast talent or the personalities or the players, whatever. There has to be dedicated people on that team that can go in and kind of put these types of fires out. Because, I mean, media people, hospitality people, they're trained to de-escalate. They are trained to, hey, what can we do to fix this? Players and like personalities, sometimes depending on how much of a prima donna they are, they don't have that. They just have I'm upset and we have moments to fix this before I get upset about my green M&Ms or why I'm drinking Dasani water and not Pure Life or something. Like, it's unfortunate. But I'm glad everything was able to fix itself. And speaking of things I need fixed, for our last topic here, I just want to rehash lightly because I don't want to give this person any more attention than they need. Okay, but there is a bit of a continuation from the G2 discussion that you, me, and Asif had last week. It looks like Xset's Zekken, their job has reportedly, it's on the line now since the G2 Andrew Tate fiasco. They went on to tweet, "Having to explain to my mom how Andrew Tate cost me a job is not where I thought I'd be a month ago." And I believe this came from the Xset Valorant team was to be absorbed by G2. I think that's how that was supposed to go. Mm-hmm. Somebody feel free to go back and correct me, like how everybody loves to do on the internet. But because of everything that went down, everything that occurred, it looks like that deal is no longer going through, and they might just not have a team anymore. And I think that's super unfortunate because when everything had originally happened, G2 put out a tweet. And I already know that whoever had to put that tweet out, I mean, just was like, damn, like this is my job on the line. I got to hold the person who essentially signs my boss's checks accountable. And I got to stand strong on this decision. But we didn't really get to see how it affected people's jobs. I mean, we just know because of seeing stuff like this happen before, people kind of being caught at that fork in the road, like, I'm in this space. This person's got caught out, but they're my boss, but I got to pay bills. Now we're starting to see it affect the players. And it's super unfortunate. Like, damn, I just lost my job because Andrew Tate and the guy in charge of G2 kicked it. And he shouldn't have been kicking it with them. And now what am I supposed to do? I mean, life happens fast. We're out here buddy with someone who's been banned from every platform available at this point. And then you double down when they bring up that's not okay. Unfortunately, it's the fallout has been real. It's led to the team themselves being removed from opportunities that would be, the breadwinners.
Yeah.
Valorant team kicked them off of the, North American lineup, and that bid also cost them money and support for everyone involved. You're now, the wild thing to me is that you're in a situation now where you've got G2 being covered by the Washington Post for all the wrong reasons.
Mm.
So as an organization, you're getting all of the news and attention for being basically around a scumbag. Like it's a terrible thing to be part of and be associated with. And if you're the company and the team and any of those players are now associated with something that's not even in their control at all, which is really unfortunate. I feel like, despite whatever apology that Rodriguez tried to put out there the next day, and him of course being eventually suspended and then removed from any kind of power within the organization once they had his resignation and such. I think unfortunately the damage has just been done.
I agree. The damage is horrible, man. And it's one thing when it's the guy at the top who's getting canceled, but when it starts to affect the livelihoods of the people who make your company, like it, usually in other companies, like, you'll see the guy or the gal in charge get canceled and then it's done. We move somebody else in and hopefully we can try to, rebuild from the top down. But this one looks like he's just going to get blown to bits because, hell, he lost his job. This is esports. As prominent as the person in charge of G2 esports probably is in the space, and still probably will be for all the wrong reasons, esports is still new. It's just still new. And, I mean, think about all of our friends in the industry. Think about how many new jobs they work a year. Hey, I'm pleased to announce that I'm joining the whatever team, and then 6 months later, pleased to announce we're joining this team and that team and that team. Like, esports teams, the turnaround rate, if not for their employees, for themselves as a company, is rapid. It happens all the damn time. And I can only imagine these people get into G2 like, damn, they're on all the circuits, they get all the money, like, I'm here now, and then some shit like this happens. It's like, how do you account for your boss fucking up? Or maybe if he's not even your boss, the guy in charge of the company fucking up, and now I lose my job. That's messed up.
It just shows you how unstable some of the elements of the esports scene is,
Yeah.
It's not in the potential and like the groundwork there isn't where traditional sports is, where you have your CEO or some other people get involved in some stuff they're not supposed to, and they get suspended or quietly walked around for a little bit. But at the end of the day, you're not going to see the Boston Celtics go under. If when there's a controversy or something like that, it's enough of that established. But when it comes to esports, I mean, Shacknews reported that just that them being removed from that riot circuit cost them $10 million up front. It's a lot of money for any esports organization. It comes to playing your players and anything else there. But now we have to make different decisions as far as like what's going to be left of this team moving forward. What can we handle, without our CEO, our major investor involved, and how ugly this thing's going to get moving forward. I do think that there's also showing some hope for the esports scene that there was this quick of an action taken in the first place. I mean, the Riot, executives meeting in like Istanbul or whatever before this Valorant event and just saying, hey, yeah, we don't want any of that press. We're just gonna shut all that down right now. Kind of tells you where, I mean, obviously Riot's had their own controversies as well. So they definitely don't want to be seen in that kind of light. So I think that's the level of where things need to be as far as like the professionalism we were just mentioning, in the last story. When it comes to like, esports and running esports, that element has to be protected in a way that, yeah, if your CEO or president is sticking up for who he wants to quote unquote party with, and it doesn't affect his company, well, yes, it does, sir. It does affect your company. When you're the head of that company and you're interacting with people that can't even technically be on the platform that you're using to shoot video of them on, and Twitter and Instagram and everywhere else. So, yeah, it's really unfortunate for the players and everyone else involved in the organization. But I do think that the right decisions were made as far as like, hey, as of right now, there's a bit of there's a bit too much uncertainty happening here. Uncertainty as far as what's going to happen next with the org and everything else there, despite a resignation. Don't know if he was paid off or, and just because people resign from a CEO role doesn't mean that they're not part of the board or something like that moving forward too. So we don't have a lot of information or details.
It just also shows too that like nobody's bigger than the brand. Like, yes, you as a person built this thing from the ground up, but at the end of the day, like these people represent the brand. Like they're the ones working not only under you but with you to make this thing bigger, to expand to new teams, to get new sponsors, to everything that esports is right now. And there comes a point where people have to realize once you create this thing, it's almost like and I mean I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but like it's like a child, it's like you made this thing and the goal is that you want it to either outlive you or you want it to be better than you or whatever the case may be, whatever your ideology for building or creating, whatever it is you've created. But whatever you do directly affects either your company, the people you're raising, hell, small animals, anything that you're taking care of, like everything you do affects it in one way or another. And I think he just unfortunately learned the hard way. And it looks like it was supposed to be an 8-week leave of work, unpaid, no money from the shares or however the fuck big money works at the top. Then it just turned into I'm out of here. Like I'm cooked. Like, and I don't want to cook the people who have made me the person I am today from a ground level. So I gotta get the fuck out of here. And I'm happy it kind of went down like that. Like you needed to go. I think Asif is the one who actually wrote this article, but just really quick, it says, G2 Army has been a tough week for us all following the events of last weekend. So we received and accepted Carlos's announcement to step down as CEO of G2 Esports. As a global esports organization serving the world's diverse fan base, we take responsibility for our fans, employees, team members, and partners across the world. In this context, we want to underline that we do not support any form of misogyny. So, of course, that was kind of the original statement. And then Carlos comes out and says, thank you with the rocket ship. And it just... I can't tell which part of this Denny felt real and which part felt performative. Like I just gotta, like it just all feels weird in this day and age. I mean, he's out of there, but it just still feels weird.
Well, I mean, it's what they could do,
Hey, hold on. My bad. I don't mean performative from like the people who removed him. I meant like performative from like his response. Like,
oh, well, I mean, that was from the beginning because even his original apology and such was. You had none of that energy before that when people were telling you should probably not be in the club partying up with Andrew Tate of all people. And your response was, you can't tell me who to party with. I do what I want. And everyone was like, okay, well, Riot also does what they want. And now your team is removed from every Valorant event. And I think someone got humbled thinking that, when you're involved in situations where, yes, you have money to sponsor a team and such, but you're not Riot or any of these companies that are putting in cash money for, prize pools and such, where sometimes you gotta assess the situation. And the fact that like him as a CEO did not assess the situation at all. And one thing that, not even just in esports, but just in general, people should learn by now is that things happen a lot faster on Twitter. They can get you out of here real quick if you're caught saying some things off cuff that you probably shouldn't be saying at all. Everyone sees it, and it's not going to just go away. You deleting a tweet is not going to be enough. Someone already recorded it or saved it or put it somewhere else, and now they're putting it on blast and tagging every single company or organization that you're associated with and said, tweet or post. And that's just basically where we're at right now. I mean, I've been on the other end of that, as far as, situations where I've seen content creators saying kind of what reckless stuff on Twitch or whatever, and suddenly tweets can't be found, but they're found on my feed now. And now I'm tagging Twitch and everyone else involved because you thought you could get away with that and dropping in bombs or, this and that, and women are this and this and that. And then suddenly, then it becomes, it's a witch hunt. They're all after me, and No, that's not. No one told you to go on and say these kind of things or to do these kind of things or to respond this kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And when you show you don't respect other people, what do you expect to happen? Because you're someone with influence and you have money, that suddenly, morals or value doesn't mean anything to other people now.
Yep.
And that's kind of where we're at, where I think that there's people that, think that there's such a thing as being too woke or something, when they're not looking at it from the perspective of, like, these are people that have companies and major businesses, PR teams and firms and everyone else involved, and they think that they can't be touched. And you see it even now on the Twitch side of things and some of that drama, which we're not going to touch on today. But, there's people that think that, okay, well, since I'm being brought up, I'll bring up some of your past or whatever. And it's like, at the end of the day, you were still associating with this person. So
that's right.
Are we supposed to just ignore that part because you're beefing with them now?
And it only just really hurts your case, too, because, like, you could, like, if you're associated with a person close and y'all break away, like, okay, you guys grew apart as individuals. Like, whatever they were on at that time, it just wasn't me. And everybody has a friend like that has absolutely lost their fucking mind. It's like, I don't even have an enemy to tell you why you're wrong. I just need to break away. Like, this is not me. But, to bring that up, like, yeah, I mean, I was an absolute shitbag, but you were also kicking it with me. And I don't know why you want to kick it around shit unless you like shit. So, or maybe you're a piece of shit. So, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it just all kind of, it doesn't help anybody's case. I think when you get called out, the first thing to do is to address it immediately. Don't try to delete anything. Don't try to, like, whatever. Like, I even hate when people do, like, the whole, like, this very carefully, well-crafted and curated write-up posts. Like, they get in the Google Doc and it's like, okay, let me touch on all the points I think people want to hear, but let me give, like, my best political response. Like, nah, bro, like, you know what? You got called out. Like, go public right now. Like, and that's if, you aren't, like, a wild person. Like, you just go live and just, you start yelling and shit at people. Like, no, if you're actually calm, cool, collected, I've been called out. Hey, look, I'm addressing this right now. This was me. I did say that, whatever. Boom. Hold me accountable. I'm disappearing. I'm getting the fuck up out of here. Whatever it is that y'all want me to do, I'm going to do that. Boom. But, like, these content creators or even himself, like, it's turning into the tap dance of, like, I got called out. Let's farm content. I got called out. Let me get in these interviews. I got called out. Like, that's not what that's about, man.
No, they don't ever address, like, what people are actually upset about or why those situations are happening the way they are. It's always about how they feel about something or how other people are reacting to it, so therefore they have the right to react back. And it never goes down to the core of what people's actual issue was with a situation like that. At the end of the day, like, you're hanging out with someone who's causing actual harm to other people in a way that's not healthy and that you don't want to associate any kind of brand with. And that's pretty much what it is. I mean, hopefully we don't see this kind of thing happening as much, as we move into different elements of esports, the same way that you had Jukes trying to build a positive community, more of that kind of energy and less of, people that own teams basically saying, hey, you can't judge me based on who I hang out with. When it's always been a situation of, your character is going to be judged based off of the circle of people you keep around you. That's just common sense.
Common sense. That is facts, yo. And with that in mind, friends, I think that's going to conclude the esports portion here of the Wide World of Electronic Sports. But like I wrote up in the run of show and in the show today, what good is esports without a little fast food on the side? You know what I'm saying? The first topic here is I don't feel any type of ways about this. And if I did feel a way, it's not good. Panda Express is testing out the new recipe for the original orange chicken sandwich. Now, first and foremost, since moving to New Jersey, technically, become a pizza snob and I become a snob for Asian food. I already was over Panda Express at the ripe age of however old I was when I had that shit originally, and I still don't like it. But now they're like, you know what? Why don't we just keep ruining Rod's day and make a chicken sandwich? It says Panda Express is testing the new version All right, so there's a beta version of this sandwich that I would imagine had killed people, of this original orange chicken sandwich at the brand's Innovation Kitchen in Pasadena, California. We need to find that kitchen, and we need to get rid of it. The new recipe for this chicken sandwich is made to order with a brioche bun, sriracha aioli sauce, pickles, crispy chicken strip glaze, and the brand's signature orange chicken sauce. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever been to Panda Express, but it's not the highest quality of meat in your Chinese food or whatever type of Asian cuisine this is supposed to be. I'm not a fan.
I mean,
I'm not going. And it's coming from the Burger King guy, Denny.
I appreciate brioche. You know, nice brioche bun is nice, but Panda Express always tastes like Chinese food that's been completely removed of any kind of soul. It tastes like Chinese you would get from like a Walmart, like, and even then, still not even quite that quality. It's just very gentrified. You know, it doesn't ever hit for me. That was one of those situations where they'd be like, "Oh, just go to Panda Express." Like when I was still in college, and even then, I was like, "There's better food than this Panda Express." Like at the local college like cafeteria than whatever is being offered. This is supposed to be beef and broccoli. I don't think I trust this.
No,
I'm not going to eat any more of that.
That's not the highest rate of broccoli.
You know, it's apparently the new version is being tested at the Innovation Kitchen in Pasadena, California. And I'm like, you know what? Pasadena sounds like the kind of place where this would originate from, where you would have those kind of ideas. The type of people will be ordering orange chicken sandwiches from Panda. But as you can see, like I bought before, the food trend is just everyone needs a chicken sandwich now.
True.
Like everyone's putting together their own version of a chicken sandwich and putting some kind of, you know, ever since, you know, Popeyes, it's been the entire year has been new chicken sandwiches launching of some kind.
Now, Popeyes had one of the best ones. The Wingstop ones were very good as well. I hope they bring those back one day. I got to get fucking Rick Ross or somebody on the phone and tell him we need those back. But, and then even the one at Panera is okay. But I was like, Panda Express. Now, I do like Asian sauces and Asian cuisines on like my burgers and like chicken sandwiches. But y'all need to stay the entire hell out of this. Back up. All right, the Innovation Lab, whoever you have taste testing these, all right, they're not there because they want to be there. They're probably being forced, okay? There's just nothing good happening at that Innovation Lab, all right? We need to shut it down. Not going for it, Panda Express. I'm not for it. Danny's not for it. All right, choose peace, all right?
Yeah, it's a scary time. Apparently they used to use King's Hawaiian buns on the original version of the sandwich. So there's been some changes made there to, I guess, whatever they're calling this mixture of cabbage and pickles and butter.
Cabbage, pickles, and butter.
I just, like, you know, with a spicy aioli sauce, it's like, okay, so you got an orange chicken sandwich, but you have to put on a spicy aioli made out of sriracha or something. Like, why is that being included in the sandwich element if your sandwich is already a sweet orange chicken concoction? Now we're adding in the heat for some reason.
Yeah,
and
it's a trip to the toilet is what that is. And that thing is going to look the same way going in as it does going out. I'm not here for it.
Yeah. Someone's got some footage of the original sandwich. Hold on, let's see what this.
Oh yeah, let's see it.
Looks like. Yeah, we got.
It's not a bad looking bun. I'll give it that.
Yeah, you know, get a little bun action in there. Let's see if they got any. It's giving a lot of. I don't want the rest of that.
Is he going like through bite by bite? Because I'd imagine like his health is gonna start declining. Like he's gonna by the end of it, he's gonna be like zombie mode. Like, and this is my last bite, and then just fucking falls over. Can't even finish it.
It's just like it's got like that sauce coming out of it. But it's like, when I think of like eating orange chicken, I don't think of putting on a ton of sriracha on top of it. At that point,
No.
I would just get a regular chicken breast or something that's well seasoned without a sweet ass sauce over it.
Yeah.
It's doing a whole lot.
I'm not here for it. It's not me. Now I will say this. We talked about choosing peace. There's nothing peaceful about this next topic here. This next one is these 10 cities have the best pizzeria in the world. See where New York lands on this list. I don't even want to scroll through this list because I already know it's about to piss me right the entire hell off. But for the sake of content and for the sake of the sauce talk culture out there, the sauce talkers, we're gonna do it anyway.
I know I'm gonna get mad, but you know what? It's fine. I'm gonna pull up this list. We'll go through it. You know, let me just prepare myself for whatever this is gonna be. Let me pull up this list. What is okay? All right. You know what, Rod? Why do you do this? Okay.
Wait, what did I
do? No. This is a nightmare.
This list is scaring me. Okay.
I didn't link this list. Asif linked this list, and I remember reading it on the way to Glitch and thinking, "Uh-oh, this is not gonna go over well with Denny." But we're gonna have some fun with this one, yo. So, #1 city with the best pizzerias in the world. It's a tie between New York and Rome, which I feel like is a safe one, right? Whatever. But the rest of this list, though, at #10 we have Hong Kong, China, Copenhagen, Milan, Italy, Paris, France, Castera, Italy, Tokyo, Japan, London, Naples. And there's nothing for #2, and then #1 is tied. I look. I know I dunk on deep dish pizza a lot, but it actually is pretty okay. Okay, we're gonna cut that part out of the stream, though, Denny. But for those who are listening to this live, it is okay. All right, and it definitely deserves to be on this list. I don't think China knows any damn thing about pizza. They don't know anything about representation in movies. I know you motherfuckers don't know anything about no damn pizza.
I can respect Italy, of course, being involved in the pizzeria conversation. But you're going to tell me that London is this high on the list? That Chicago is nowhere to be found, but yet I'm supposed to believe that Copenhagen is where you can get the bombest pizza right now?
No. Listen, dude. London and UK, these niggas, they eat beans and toast. Beans and toast eating motherfuckers are on this list. But Chicago deep dish pizza is not on this list. I feel like, who wrote this list? We have to find a Twitter.
It says, that apparently there's some kind of survey involved if they were to get here, where there's also, Sao Paulo, Brazil, I got an honorable mention because it had 3 pizzerias on the list of the top 100 in the survey, apparently.
Bro. Italy's on this list 3 times. Is that even fair? 4 times, technically. They're on this list 4 times.
I mean,
no Chicago.
I mean, Italy is... there's different types of pizza in Italy, so, and there's different cities that might do their own thing. I can't come for the original birthplace of pizza. There's got to be, different elements there that might make it make sense. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to sell me on Hong Kong being higher than any Chicago staple.
I'm not going for it because those are 2 regions of the world that think KFC is the best fried chicken on the planet. So I know they don't know no damn anything about pizza. I'm not going for it, all right? Now, I'm not saying that it can't be good. I'm just saying that you can't be on that list. I feel like that clip of Lil Wayne where they were like, it's like they were asking the top 10 rappers and Gucci Mane was on the list, but Eminem wasn't or something like that. Like, and his face was just, Gucci Mane ain't on Gucci Mane on the list. Who else on the list? Like, I feel like that. I have this level of confusion right now for Chicago. Like, I'm willing to set the pizza war aside, Denny, because we have a new enemy, and it is Hong Kong and pizza.
Well, I just feel like, Asif, set this up to just upset me before we end the show. I mean, it was part of, a long term. He's trying to get that time in now before, we eventually go head to head in Street Fighter 6 or something. And he's playing the long games, you know, with this list. But it's fine. You know, I'm supposed to believe that somehow London of all places is going to be in the top 5 in the world for best pizza. When I've never heard anyone speak of London and pizza in the same sentence.
I've heard of London Bridges. I've heard of London on the track. I've even heard of Lauren London. I never heard of London pizza. I'm not going for it, friends. Denny and I are not convinced. We will not be swayed or moved from this opinion either. We know good pizza doesn't exist over there. We just know it.
I mean, I have good friends in London, you know, and you know, the UK scene, much love to them, you know. The Jamaican out there, I'm sure, is bomb. You know, have some fire African food too. Look, there's tons of, you know, Caribbean influence out there in the UK, but I don't know what part of London is selling some pizza that is going to make it into the top 5 in the entire world right now. No. That I have not heard a single thing about or never seen on a Food Network or anything. I just, no.
We have to get Guy Fieri on it. We have to send Guy Fieri's ass over to the UK and see if he can sniff out some of that good pizza that allegedly exists. Because it looks like, who wrote this article? Because according to the fine people who ran this survey so that Celia Fernandez can put it together on the internet, on Beyonce's internet for everybody to read, London has good pizza and Chicago does not.
It's also the fact that they, like, not only that they have the listing the way it is, but then they have it tied. Sort of like, just to make sure that there's no beef or something. They're going to have a tie between New York and Rome. And I'm like, look, these are two very different styles of pizza happening here between New York and Rome. I'm barely sure that you're in a knife and fork situation. Picking up pizza in Rome. It's not happening that way in New York.
It definitely ain't. I just shoved like 2 slices in my face earlier in the week, and it definitely wasn't. It wasn't nothing pretty. It wasn't nothing just, you know, tactful. I was just unga bunga, like just caveman mode. Your boy was, no. My mom would be ashamed. All right.
Yeah, see, it's a mess. But it's fine. You know, we do have some good news this week. You know.
That is very true. Now, we got some Cortex stuff to talk about. That's right. That's our own built-in game here at Shacknews.com. And Mamu123 won Shack News for the day, September 25th, 2022. Beating... Oh, God, they beat... That's John. Sorry, my eyes are really bad since COVID. Yes, beating Rumpo. That's our own Bill Avoid. Beat 8 Mikey. Beat Blake Morris. I mean, these are some contenders. Beat even the man with the briefcase. I mean, he only made the game. Figured out a way to beat him too.
You know, but that's, you know, that's only one element of a celebration here, because the thing has finally happened. We finally had a week here with a new contender and a new victor. And
talk to him.
This Mamu123 has officially won Shack News for the week of September 18th, 2022. And it was a close one. A very close one. A very close one here. You know, of course we got Mad Dog. Came through the chatty points. But yes, they also won Shack Pets for the week. And you look at those Shack Pets points. It was a very, very close. Right.
Very close
on that end. And it looks like, you know, my man's Mamu pull the upset on 8 Mikey by less than 500 points.
Insanity.
It was very close here. At the end of
now,
the day.
see, we're at a fork in the road now, Denny, because what happens after this? Is this the start of something new, or does it get ugly? Because I want this shit to get ugly. Like, I want it to go down to the wire like this every week. But there's also a chance that A. Mikey could have been like, I'm just here to play until I get beaten and then I'm out. But I feel like if I know their competitive, you know what I'm saying, prowess, they might try to come back and double what they did here.
I can't see it ending here. I think that there's definitely going to be some kind of, you know, bounce back period. If A. Mikey has the Mamba mentality, All right, if he has the Kobe gene, then there's no stopping here at this point. You know, there just has to be a new level of competition happening. And as far as Mamamoo 123, I mean, who knows? He might try and get a streak going here. It might be a situation where he's like, you know what, it's time to bring in another one. Bring in another W, in which case I would support it. You know, we've had the same winner for quite some time, but now, you know, maybe Mama was saying, look, it's time for Mamamoo supremacy moving forward here. Maybe it's time to move into a new age of Shacknews.
You know what? I kind of be here for it, man. The Mamamoo Master Race.
The Cortex time is here. You know, maybe he's like, you know what? I was being a little bit easy. I'm gonna get these article points in real quick. But look, Shack Pets, it's time for me to take over.
He said, gone are the days of the 8 Mikey supremacy. We have entered a new dawn, friends, a new day.
Yes.
A new chapter in civilization here at Shacknews. I am your new leader, Mamamoo 123, and I will be addressed as such and nothing less. Or I would do you like how I did 8 Mikey. All right.
Big ups to Mamamoo. Pulling up with the W. All right. We'll have to watch closely over this next week to see, you know, as we move into spooky season, if there's going to be any sign of, you know, a showdown here forming as we move forward. But yeah, you know, plenty of points across the board. Shack Pets, remember, this is a perfect time, you know, for those of you that have pets around to start getting in those battles. You know, spooky season is upon us. You know, get those costumes out. We want to see your pets living their best lives moving forward here. And as always, you know, it's completely free. You can download today and join in on some of this Shack Pets fun. Yeah.
Everything here at Shacknews is free. And that's the great thing about this. You can literally pull up and kick it with us for the low price of nothing. And if you really want to support us, if you really, really love what you heard today between Denny and myself, and of course the Twitch chat as well, you can go ahead and shoot us a subscription. I know I put it in the shell, and I know it's in the same spot it typically is every week, but I'm being so serious. Like, it goes a very, very long way. Show us some love. Or, you know, if you're broke as hell like me, all right, you can at least show us some love by following us here. If the conversation has not enticed you to hit that follow button at the bare minimum, I don't know what will. Hit that follow button. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We have 2 YouTube channels. Instagram as well. We're getting very, very active. That's right. We are Instagrammers. And, of course, follow us on Twitter. Myself, of course, Denny, and the rest of the strong team over at Shacknews. They're working tirelessly around the clock to do what they do. Of course, I mean, we got Surfer Boy Sam in the chat to attest to that statement. My friends all the way in Australia, waking up is early afternoon or late afternoon for him. Not exactly sure, but he's carrying the Shacknews mantle down there as well. So big shout out to him. And, of course, big shout out to all the viewers who came through and kicked it with Denny and I. This has been episode 151 of the Wide World of Electronic Sports. We will see you for 152 next week.
Peace. Yes. Be easy. And again, much love as always. And remember, September is still a thing this month. So, you know, you feel like gifting, you know, a sub to us or showing a little bit of love on the Twitch end, make it happen. But
that's right.
We are headed out of here. And, yeah, stay tuned because your boy Steve Tindall will be showing up pretty much right after this. Peace.
Ha ha!